Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. A couple of things first. One, I apologise for the wind noise behind. It's bad weather here, gale, force winds, etc, etc. The second thing is, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, please take the time to do so. Viewing figures are rising all the time. I need more subscribers in order to try and keep this channel going. So please, it costs nothing, just subscribe if you possibly can. It would be a great help, so thank you for that if you do. And the third thing is, we're just about to go into another lockdown here in the UK. I know things are bad in Europe, I know things are bad in the US. I've got viewers all over Europe and in America, which sounds very grand, but anyway, what I mean to say is I have some viewers in America and some viewers in Europe. So wherever you are, the point is, please be safe. I hope your families are safe. Just be careful. So, today's video is basically how much does it cost to restore a classic motorcycle, which is a difficult question. Lots of people skirt around the topic a bit because they don't want to appear foolish for spending too much, or just don't want people to know their business. I don't care. I don't mind if you think I'm an idiot. Lots of people do, so join the club. So anyway, if you've seen any of the videos, I restored this A65 Firebird Scrambler, which is now finished to all intents and purposes. There are a few small things that need doing, but basically it's finished. So, I started with this. And I wanted it to look like this. And this is how it's turned out. Now, I'm happy with it. It's not a concours restoration by any stretch of the imagination. We will go through that in a second as we go into the figures. But it's clean, it's tidy, it suits me, it's not an embarrassment. What more can I say? So let's get into the nitty-gritty of it all. So let's start at the beginning. The bike came to me from DK Motorcycles in Newcastle under Lyme. I've dealt with them before, I've always been happy, so I was quite willing to buy it. I bought it blind because the first lockdown was going on then, so I was relying entirely on their description, which was accurate. So, happy bunny on that score. Now, let's get into some prices. The project itself cost £3,995, which isn't cheap and it isn't dear. For a Firebird Scrambler, I would say that was a fair price. As it turned out, it was actually a good price because on the clock it had 4,300 miles. It still had its stickers on from when it was originally sold. Now, obviously, initially I didn't trust that. However, when I stripped it down, looked at the engine and all the parts, it's highly likely that is the genuine mileage. If it isn't, it's barely done anymore. So I struck lucky. It could have been considerably worse. So anyway, it was stripped down. I painted the frame myself. I did all the paintwork myself, which saved a lot of money. So, I'm going to have to refer to my piece of paper through this. Apologies if you see me constantly looking down. So starting with the paint, the frame paint, the tank paint, the side panels, the decals, all your little sundries that are touched up, cost me £164.68. Obviously, if you were paying someone else to do all of that, you could probably safely add £500 or £600, I would have thought. So £164. The suspension The front forks were good, the stanchions were good, so they just needed seals and oil. I had to replace the rear shocks, they were knackered. Various bushes, like handlebar bushes, even the swinging arm bushes were good. Unworn, the spindle was unworn. The only bearing I had to change on the frame was the steering head bearings, which had basically gone rusty from sitting. So the total cost for the framework, suspension work I should say, is £481.71. Included in that are all the cables and other sundries. All the cables were changed. You're going to have to do that on any project, I think. You'd be really, really lucky if you managed to get away with reusing 40-year-old cables, and it probably wouldn't be safe anyway. So, the next big cost was the electrics. I had to replace the wiring loom in its entirety, apart from the sub-loom for the headlamp, because it had all gone crusty. The stator had to be replaced, because that's what took this bike off the road originally. It had melted. Have a look at my previous videos on the restoration to see all the details about that. And then you've got various grommets, insulators, electrical connectors. I fitted a proper rectifier, regulator rectifier, to replace the Zener diode, which I think is what had gone faulty originally and caused the stator to burn out, so that had to go. And then bulbs, HT leads, the usual sort of gubbins, and that was £243.59. Now the engine, when I took it apart, there was nothing wrong with it. I replaced the shells because I just did. I could probably got away with the old ones, but I replaced the shells. I could have reused the original pistons. There was no blow-by on them at all. The rings were a bit scummy, but basically they could have been reused with a set of rings on, I'm sure. I changed all the gaskets, changed all the seals, and a few minor bits and bobs, but basically the engine was a strip, check and reassemble job with those parts I mentioned. So it only cost £263.38. Now, if it needed the tiny side bush doing, if it needed other bearings, if it needed a rebore, there are a huge number of things that could have increased that cost considerably. I was lucky, as I said before. You've got to factor in, I think, an element of risk into all the prices, because that could easily have been another £400 or £500, easily, and possibly considerably more. In fact, I glanced down at things like the switchgear. These are all okay. All the plastic paddles were still attached, which is unusual for these. Everything worked. It was just grubby from sitting, so cleaning them up, everything worked. Things like that really make a big difference. And that's where a US import is quite a good gamble, because lots of these bikes were playthings and didn't accumulate huge mileages. But anyway, on we go. Tyres and tubes, obviously, because you're going to do that on a 40-year-old. They were £122.85, which again is a very low figure. I normally use the Avons, which have completely escaped my memory for a second. The Roadrunners, essentially. I don't think they're called that anymore. But anyway, and K70s also, I've also used them. However, on this one, I've given my TAS a try. Classic tread, classic look, half the price of the others. How good they are, I don't know. I'll let you know when the bike's on the road. The original exhausts were okay. The silencers were the wrong ones. If you look at the picture at the beginning of the video, you'll see there's some cheap chrome add-on things. So I had to buy the proper ones, plus clamps, plus the specific H-pipe that the Firebird Scrambler has. So that cost me £188. And then the seat, I had to buy a whole new seat because I had the wrong one on. I still have to buy the correct hinges for it. There's only one on at the minute because it had the wrong seat on, and I need some rubber buffers. So we can add 25 quid to the final top up. But anyway, it's a nice seat, British Bike Bits. I'm very happy with it. It looks right. It's a proper US spec. It's got the BSA on the back in gold. Very happy bunny, it looks right. And then tools, I'm not going to count tools. I had to buy a couple of special tools. I could sell them again. I'll keep them. I've got loads of special tools for lots of different bikes, lots of different cars. I like tools. But you should really factor that into the price of a classic bike restoration. And also a manual and a parts book, which cost me £22.50 and £12.25 respectively. Again, I could probably sell them second hand for 10 quid, I don't know, knock that off. But again, I'll just keep them. So there you go. It isn't, as I said at the beginning, a concours restoration by any stretch of the imagination. It's tidy, it starts and runs properly. The chrome work is acceptable. It's all the original chrome apart from the handlebars. The original mudguard, which I had to weld because it had broken one of its very thin mounting stays, I should say, rather than stands. I had to weld that, minor touch in. The back one is original. It's got minor foxing on it. You know, I'm not really that fussed. The back rim is exceptionally good, spokes are good, front rim, spokes are good. There's a small patch on the front rim where it must have been sitting with water on it, which I've managed to successfully clean. It doesn't look perfect, but it's good enough. Headlamp bowl's pretty good. It generally looks, if you came up to it, it looks like a clean Survivor, which I think is a perfectly acceptable standard. And that's where we come, rain's really hammering down, sorry. That's where we come to the nitty gritty. So all the parts together came to, and with the bike, came to £5,634.16. I still have to register it, which will cost me £55. And then, as I say, there's a few minor rubbers for the seat and bits and bobs like that. So the final figure will be £5,700. Now, how much is a clean, working Survivor BSA Firebird Scrambler worth with low mileage? You tell me. I think probably around £5,700, maybe £6,000. You see them advertised for more, a lot more at dealers. So, have I made any money from my 6 months of lockdown hard work? Nope, almost certainly not. And that's not taking into account workshop consumables, which is not a lot but a bit, electricity for running the place, stuff like that. It's my own garage, so that's not a lot either. So, financially, was it worth it? No. Is it likely that any project like this will be financially worth it? Quite possibly not. Was it worth it because I enjoy doing it? Absolutely. So, I'm hoping that this will either terrify some people who might be thinking about doing a classic motorbike restoration. It might encourage some people who think, well, at least I'm not going to lose loads of money. It's an enjoyable hobby that doesn't actually cost money. And if you wanted to do it as a profit-making exercise, and there's no reason why not, lots of people do, or try to do, the margins could be quite slim. So that's it. The BSA is done. You won't be seeing it again for some considerable time now, because I've got to register it, which with the current COVID situation is taking anything up to 2 months, 10 weeks even, by which time we're in November now, beginning of November. It's going to be really horrible and cold where I live, which is quite high up. We get snow. So it's going to be a springtime ride. I will do a video when I've done it, got it all on the road. I intend buying suitable equipment in order to do run-out test rides, so I can show you on YouTube, as long as you keep subscribing. And there you go. I can't really say any more. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, it does help the channel. I want to grow this channel, do different things. It might be a bit scattergun, Lots of people might watch this and think, well, there's loads of different stuff going on that I'm not interested in. But that's what this channel's about, just tinkering with things that you want to tinker with. So, thanks again.